What's going on, people? Welcome to an Emotion Football live stream. We got the first iteration of our off-season preview series. So this is the first time I'm doing something like this on the channel. It's going to be a series of live streams where we're going to talk about every team and kind of the situation that they're in entering the off-season and maybe what their priorities should be, what the cap situation is looking like, what they need to do, blah blah blah. But what we're going to end up doing is uh I was initially gonna just go team by team, but frankly, I don't know um if that's even an entertaining enough way of doing it. So I decided to group the teams together, and then the thought of it was, should I do it by division? But I mean that's okay. But what I ended up doing is I ended up grouping all the teams together. There is a community post on the channel explaining the groupings. So this grouping is contenders that can build. So we got the Ravens, Bills, and Lions that we're gonna talk through today. I see my guy Brock is in here. Shout out to Brock. Good to see you in the chat. And we're gonna get right into it. So first things first, I'm gonna kind of explain my method for how I'm getting into grouping these teams together. What I'm looking at essentially, we're gonna start with the depth chart on our lads. The reason why I really like this website is it shows you what the hell. It shows you who's on the team as of right now, the free, and it puts the free agents in green. Damn, this Windows tripping. But it puts the free agents in green, so it really helps you get a feel for who's on the team, and who they're going to be missing. And the idea of what we're going to look at is who's on this team, what are they missing, or who are they going to be missing in the offseason. Based on that, what were they last year, and then if you factor the losses, what do they look like they're going to be next year as of right now? And then after that, we're going to look at the investment into their team, how much money they're spending. And after that, we're going to get into why they are grouped as this particular grouping, which is a contender that can build. So, Mess said Eagles not making Super Bowl 60. We'll see. We'll see. But the off season is going to determine that, bro. We don't know anything about anybody right now. But yeah, if you look at the Detroit Lions, if you look at the four starters that they're losing here, right? So the starters in green are the players that aren't going to be here. You got Tim Patrick, wide receiver 3, had a small role in the offense. Kevin Zeitler, valuable guard. Marcus Davenport, I think this guy was hurt. If I'm not wrong, I think he was out for the year midseason. And then Carlton Davis, who valuable outside starting corner, but was lost for the season towards the end. Obviously, there's a lot of depth, a lot of backups that are free agents over here. That's fairly normal for how things go. So we're not going to make a big deal out of that. But if you look at Detroit, obviously they were a good team last year. One of the other things that I'm going to look at is EPA. I like EPA as a metric, not like a super serious one. But if we look at this is offensive EPA, Detroit was 3. Well, wrong tab. And if we look at defensive EP, wait, no, this is wait, they're both offense. Nah, we need to get this right. Defensive EPA, where's it at? Detroit was 7, and this is with all the injuries. So Detroit is one of the better teams in football. And then when we look here again to see who they're going to be missing, not that much. These are pieces that they should be able to replace. And then the last thing we're going to look at here, and I'm going to have to explain this at the beginning of every single stream. This is actually something original that I made. And I know it's not legible right now, so we're going to zoom in on this later when we need to talk about it. But basically, this is a chart that I put together of the team's guaranteed money left on their deals. So I'm going to talk about this a lot in football, or just generally when we do these preseason streams, these off-season streams, even like stuff after the offseason. When I look at the salary cap, the thing is, year to year, it doesn't actually matter because you can move money from one year to the other very easy in football. Unguaranteed salary, in my opinion, does not matter because it's easy to move. Guaranteed money is really the main thing that you have to look at when you think about how invested a team is. So into their team. So what I put together here is a chart to show every team's level of investment when it comes to guaranteed money into their teams as of right now. So if you look at where the Lions are, I'll explain the graphic a little bit further. you got the middle 16 teams in blue here. Hold on. These teams are the middle 16 teams. These teams are the top 8 guaranteed figures in the league, and then at the bottom here you have the lowest figures. So if you think about where Detroit is, Detroit has the 8th biggest investment into their roster, but look how far they are away from a team like Philadelphia. That team at the top there, that's Philadelphia. They are not nowhere close to being one of the most one of the more invested teams into their roster. You look at the Cowboys, the Saints, the Dolphins, the Niners. You even got teams like the Jaguars and Browns with a higher level of investment into their teams. So there's a lot more money they could spend. If you look at their situation, I also made note here of players that they may have to consider paying. And in their situation, it's just Kirby Joseph, like people who are going to be free agents next offseason. So, man, if you think about this Detroit Lions team, a very good football team from last year, they're going to be bringing back a lot of players. Again, we saw them with things really fall apart for them because of injuries. But we know they're going to bring back a pretty strong team. They're not, they don't have the most money in the world to spend, but they do have a fair amount to spend. And they do have some catching up to do when it comes to their ability to spend up to where Philadelphia is. So the idea with Detroit is that they should be able to build. They should be able to get better. Is it going to cost them money to replace Carlton Davis and Kevin Zeitler? Sure. But they could all, that's not like, it's not like those are the only pieces they'll be able to afford. And if they spend money on those two, then they can use all their draft picks to get better. The idea with Detroit is they have an opportunity to get better. They're not strapped up the way some other organizations are. And again, if we go back to the money over here, they have a bunch more money that they can spend before they even reach to where Jacksonville is. And like another way to think about this chart here in terms of how much money each team has to spend is or how much guaranteed money the team has spent. The higher up you are on the list, in theory, the better the better your team should be. So part of why it's okay that the Eagles are so high up on this list here is because they have a very good team. And what this really means is that they're just very invested in what a good team, in like the good team that they have, which isn't a bad thing. Part of the reason it's so bad that the Jaguars and Browns are here is because they're heavily invested in teams that aren't good. And that's going to be really bad for them. So the Lions, because they're good, they can afford to push high up this chart here. They can really, dish out some money, and it's going to be okay. So yeah, that's the main thing I'm looking at with Detroit. We know they're a good team. We know they have an opportunity to get better. When it comes to what I think they need, offensively, they're not going to go for more running backs because they have Gibbs and they already paid Montgomery. I don't think they have the kind of offense where they need another receiver because if you look at Philadelphia, there's no more mouths to feed. And I think Detroit's quietly in the same spot. You have 2 running backs. You have Laporta. You have J-Mo and Amon-Ra. There's not really much more space. If you get another great receiver, they're really not going to have there's not going to be much space to get them the targets. So when I think about the investment that they have to do, it's entirely in defense. And the main place it's got to be for me is corner because Carlton Davis, I think needs to be replaced. He's not going to be on the team because he's a free agent. They could resign him, obviously. And Terrion Arnold, I think he's good, but I think it would almost be better if they got like a veteran corner that could play in case he needs more time to develop. I think he might stand to benefit from the opportunity to develop a little bit. Handsy Alabama corners, super physical, lots of penalties. That's a story we've seen before, but he's going to grow past it. It's just that they're a contending team that's trying to win now. So maybe they don't have the time for these things to be grown past. But yeah, I think the Detroit, they got to invest in defense. I'm thinking corner for sure. At linebacker, you have Anzalone and Jack Campbell, maybe just some depth there. But beyond that, it's just got to be defensive line and corner. And they have a lot of opportunity. They're going to have a lot of opportunities to do that. It's a very good defensive line draft. If they can just get the corner spot situated in free agency, this is an opportunity. This is a team that's going to have a really great opportunity to get better, and that's why they're in this tier. We're gonna keep it pushing now to Baltimore. Yeah, we're gonna look at Baltimore. And as for why Baltimore is on this list, first thing we're going to look at is you got Baltimore, who has the number 1 offense according to EPA, the number 8 defense according to EPA. So, a very good defense. If you look at their level of investment, they're even lower than Detroit. They're, I mean, look, bit of a, I guess, something that gives away why I put these teams together. They're all similarly invested in their teams, and because they're all good teams, they can afford to push higher and higher up the list. So, Detroit, Buffalo, and Baltimore, I've grouped them together partially because they were they were here beside each other on this chart, and I was like, hey, I shouldn't fight this. God put these teams together. But yeah, when we look at this team, we know it's a good team. We know they were a team that could have been a drop away from being in the AFC Championship game, and then we saw how Kansas City played in the Super Bowl. One might think that if you look at the style Philadelphia is built, the style Baltimore is built, Baltimore could have had some success against Kansas City. This is a team that was very close to a Super Bowl. That's why they're listed as a contender, and they're a contender that can build, again, because I showed financially how even with paying Lamar Jackson, they don't have the craziest situation in terms of guaranteed money on the books. And then when we look at their team and what they're missing, Brandon Stevens and Ardarius Washington, clearly pieces in the secondary, but I don't think they're the pivotal pieces, right? Wiggins, Hamilton, and Marlon Humphrey are still under contract. So you have the pillars of your secondary. Of course, you could stand to get better because their secondary didn't really tighten up until the end of the year. Just a Port Tucker, get an edge cornerback and a few offensive line for sure. Like this is not that far away. And like I said, Peter, I don't know if you were here when I was explaining what this is. I actually had this put together. It's just charting every team's guaranteed dollars left on the cap. The Ravens, this box here is like the middle 16 of the league. Yes, this graph looks like shit. Blame ChatGPT, but the Ravens are not that high up in the guaranteed dollars left on their books. So if you see that the Ravens don't have salary cap, or like they don't have cap room, that means they have a lot of unguaranteed dollars, which can easily be gotten rid of or easily pushed into future years. Guaranteed dollars are king, and Baltimore does not have that much guaranteed money on the books. So when we think about what they can do to get better, Peter says get edge, cornerback, and a few offensive linemen. And that's a concise way to put it. Like they have the pillars of their secondary in place. That's going to be fine. If you look at their edge here, Van Noy, and they have Owe as a backup here. I don't know why. Is Tavius Robinson really the starter on paper? I did not know that. But yeah, they could stand to strengthen that part of the field. Kyle Van Noy, I think he had 10 sacks, but he's in his 30s. You never know when football players in their 30s are going to fall off. The interior with Nnamdi Madubuike and Michael Pierce in them. I still can't believe that guy got an interception. That's still intact. Again, there's no free agents there. If you look at the offensive side of the ball, Pat Ricard, fullbacks don't really cost money like that. You got the left tackle and the left guard as free agents. I think Falele, the right guard, he might be the one that could stand to be upgraded. But you look at the offensive line, you got to upgrade them. You look at the secondary, you definitely have to get, again, not expensive pieces or high draft picks, just quality guys. If you think about the premier additions they need to make, it's along the lines. You get an edge, you get an offensive tackle in free agency, and then you go round 1, round 2, edge and offensive tackle again. And those things are probably they're going to restructure some deals. Don't trust Owe and Ojabo. And okay. So then it's like that. Now, those players definitely exist. Where they get the stats, but from a snap-by-snap basis, the production isn't there, or they're not great in run support. I'm calm with keeping Falele, but we need left tackle if Stanley doesn't stay. Right. So, I mean, even then, we're looking at let's say 2 spots, right? Because the left guard is a free agent, the left tackle is a free agent, and then if we don't trust Owe or Ojabo, I mean, you probably are looking at wanting 2 edges, but that's 4 roster spots. Throw 1 more secondary spot. You literally need to get 5 guys in, and they're not overly invested financially. So Again, we're grouping these teams together because Baltimore, Detroit, and Buffalo all have opportunities to get better. Baltimore is definitely one of those teams. Um, I think what a lot of people are going to talk about is this spot here, Nelson Aguilar. They got Flowers and Bateman under contract. Some people are going to say they need a wide receiver 3. My take on that is that when you have Derrick Henry, you have Isaiah Likely, and then you have Flowers and Bateman, there's not really space. It's similar to Detroit. There's not really space for the wide receiver 3 to have a big role. So the funny way of looking at that position is that if your wide receiver 3 in Baltimore is cooking, something probably isn't going right. If everything goes as planned, that's a guy who's getting 2 catches a game. And the point isn't that, you have him out on the field and the defense is going to shut down Henry and the 2 receivers and Likely and Lamar running, and that guy's just going to be open. It's not really how it works. Like, with everything I just mentioned, on any given play, one of those things should be able to work. Whether it's Henry, Lamar running, Lamar throwing to Likely, Bateman, or Zay Flowers, that's all fine. So the way some people are going to say, hey, they could get a better player than Nelson Aguilar, I actually don't think that's worth a lot in the grand scheme of things. They need to just get a steady receiver there, a competent player, and focus on the trenches. Focus on the goddamn trenches. Hope Devontae's walking for the role, but I like Aguilar on our team. Yeah, for sure. And again, even if whether you sign Aguilar or somebody else, that player is not going to cost a ton of money. And almost 6,000 yards of offense this year. We need to clean up turnovers. Yeah, I mean, it's just an execution thing at that point. But yeah, man, Baltimore definitely, they have every opportunity to get what they need, and that's the theme of this stream. That's the theme of the 3 teams that we're gonna look at. And we're just gonna pivot to Buffalo now, and then we can open up a conversation about all these 3 teams. But when you look at Buffalo, again, similar kind of situation. You look at the free agents that they have. Mac Hollins, that's not a major free agent. You got the fullback. Then you have DeMar Hamlin. I think Taylor Rapp is going to get cut. And then Rasul Douglas, right? So Rasul Douglas is a quality outside corner. DeMar Hamlin was a solid safety. Taylor Rapp is a solid safety. But they're not really losing serious pieces that they can't replace. Just a quick look at the EPA charts. Again, this is not a perfect stat, people. It's not a perfect stat. But the Bills had, the 13th defensive EPA and the 2nd offensive EPA. And then again, in my investment chart here that I put together, the Bills are just a little bit above Baltimore at the 9th most invested team in the roster. So, again, they have every opportunity to get better, man. They have every opportunity to get better. Throwing kicker, and I really only think we need 5 new starters. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I don't know who the kicking free agents are. I wouldn't go for a rookie. I don't think AFC North, a kicker in the AFC North should never be a rookie just because of the kind of outdoor stadiums they kick in December. Bills get to keep their front 7 intact. That's nice for sure. And what I would say about the Bills is that we saw that they had the 13th defensive EPA. They had their moments. I think as a whole, their defense was kind of weird. Like, I don't know if their defense really had strengths. And I've heard a lot of Bills fans talk about how, unless they they were getting turnovers on a play-to-play basis, they weren't the best defense. So thing about Buffalo, again, the reason they're here is because they're really not losing much. Whatever they were last year, an AFC championship team that got a little bit lucky to get there, but whatever they are, they get to stack on top of that. What I think they need to do realistically, they need to get Josh Allen another weapon, maybe 2 offensively, and then they need to get this defense together. Sean McDermott is a defensive head coach. I don't think he's had a good defense, like a great defense, for maybe 3-4 years now. I think that needs to change this year. Like Peter said, they get to keep their front 7 together. Matt Milano misses a lot of time. They might need to get some depth there just to factor in for the time he is going to miss. Von Miller, I think his contract is really big. There's going to come a point where his big cap hit isn't really anchored by a lot of dead money. I don't know if this is the offseason, but he might get cut. It really looks like their defensive line, they're going to be keeping all the starters, but it looks like all the backups are going to be out of there. So they're going to need to get some depth there. But I think they could use if they were going to make one big signing, I was thinking interior of the defensive line, because this guy, Jordan Phillips, they just added him in the middle of the year and he was playing a lot. That's not really a good sign. So if they could go interior for the defensive line, I think that would help a lot. Rousseau and Epineza are like solid, steady players. They could definitely use edge as well, but I think interior is a little bit more important. Yeah, big up Joel. Yeah, the defense wasn't great. We had 400 yards in the snow, just fumbled. This is true, bro. The Bills' defense was not it. So when we think about what they need to do going forward, again, a lot of people are going to talk about the fact that Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, Matt Collins is not good enough. But again, I think offensively, they don't need like a whole set of receivers. You get one solid guy that pushes everybody else into like their roles of wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, they're fine. They need to get their shit together defensively. We just saw a team win against the Chiefs basically because of their front four. If you're a team in the AFC, we just talked about Baltimore. Now we're talking about Buffalo. You definitely want to bolster the lines. In Buffalo's case, you're retaining what you had from last year, so you get a chance to just stack on top of that. I think that's a pretty nice place to be. And then the other thing to keep in mind with Buffalo, because again, I was looking at the players on the team. I referenced how much how much room these guys have to spend, both Buffalo and Baltimore. Part of the thing you have to factor is who needs to be extended. So for the Ravens, the only players that I noticed that are going to be free agents next year, who I guess are prominent names, are Isaiah Likely and Odafe Owe. I don't think either of those are huge expenses. If you look at Buffalo, their players that they might have to think about extending are James Cook, the running back, which it's probably something they would have to entertain. Terrell Bernard, one of their starting linebackers, and Christian Benford. I like the two defensive players. They're both solid starters, but I don't think that those are huge names that would take up a huge chunk of money. James Cook is a running back, so for that reason alone, probably not going to take up a whole ton of money. I think they let Owe walk, man. Yeah, so those are just the names you might have to consider. But like in this case, if you don't want to pay Owe, you could definitely look at him as a player that might have to prove it this year. And if he has the sacks, but his play doesn't live up to the sacks, then that's probably a player you think is going to get paid by a stupid organization in free agency. So, Baltimore isn't going to have a ton of money that they have to set aside for extensions. Neither does Buffalo. Both these teams have an opportunity to build what they have. And then again, to kind of really like bolster my point about the guaranteed figures here, right? Philadelphia is far ahead. The hell? There we go. Philadelphia is far ahead of everybody here. And that is not a huge deal because they're invested in it actually like a good roster. The Browns and the Jags are the teams that are completely fucked because they're deeply invested in bad teams. The reason I wanted to put Detroit, Buffalo, and Baltimore together is because these are the three teams that are good enough to justify continuing to invest, right? Look at the teams above them: Dallas, New Orleans, Miami, San Francisco. Those are four teams where I would say, hey, you probably need to consider not spending any more money because you're not good enough to justify getting up to where Philadelphia is. But Detroit, Buffalo, and Baltimore, they all are. They all have the foundation in place to where if you start spending money to make those teams better, it makes sense for you to be up where Philadelphia is in terms of the guaranteed money spent. So, that's the reason I wanted to bunch these teams together. I think they're all kind of in a similar spot in the going into the off season. They have similar objectives. They have similar, potential. Peter says, just check the B-Mox 2 offensive tackles and edge. Predicting our draft is so simple. Man, it's a pretty good draft to need edge, I think. There's going to be options. For offensive tackle, I would say like the value is probably end of the first, second kind of part of the draft. I think the teams at the top of the draft that need tackles, it's not great. But yeah, they definitely could like if they just draft well, the pieces will definitely be there. It's a great time to need interior defensive line. So like Buffalo, if they need a defensive tackle, it's a great time for something like that. Baltimore, I mean, even with, hold on, where's Baltimore again? Baltimore, I mean, if they were to draft a player, it would still make sense. Urban is a free agent. Pierce is 30 plus. Broderick Washington is probably going to be a free agent if he's from 2020. So what the way this website breaks it down is that this means he's a 5th round pick from 2020. So they could probably go there as well, round 2 or round 3. Josh Simmons from Ohio State. Oh, okay. I've heard of the one from Ohio State. Thing is, those are both programs that I feel like had good trench play this year. So I mean, those sound like good names, but this is definitely not the channel to go for offensive line scouting. That is not my bag at all. Didn't pay attention either, but give me slightly above average and Lamar throwing for 4K. Yeah, man. Like again, the reason why I guess like the main takeaway I want to have from these streams is that these 3 teams have no excuses. Absolutely no excuses. Again, they're not invested to a detrimental point. They're all good teams. It makes sense for them to continue investing in what they have. They have clear demonstrated needs. They don't have too many needs. Like these 3 teams are all in kind of a similar spot. And what I'm gonna hold on, now that there's a few people here, let me see if I can pull up the rest of my groupings, because I put the whole league together into like 13 different categories of where they're at going into the off season, and I can throw that on the screen right now. Where are the posts? Here's the post. Okay. The hell is this window? So, this is the stream we're doing today. We're doing contenders that can build. They're put together for a reason. Good teams that can build: Broncos, Packers, Texans, and Bucks. I guess all playoff teams, all what I would say are in a similar situation to these teams. Bad teams that can build, teams that are, I guess they're all in the top 11 in the draft and are positioned to get better. Teams that have to spend to stay in place: Cincinnati and Kansas City. So the reason I put those teams together is because both are teams that are about to lose a bunch of pieces, and for that reason, they have to do quite a bit of spending to either keep those pieces in place or replace them. And then when that happens, more or less you're treading water, you're in the same spot. What I would say, I guess, is that both teams are kind of they're going to struggle to get better. Now, in Kansas City's case, they don't have to get a whole lot better. Realistically, they just got to a Super Bowl. In Cincinnati's case, that's a little bit shitty. Teams with money that aren't losing much. These are teams that, for what it's worth, they have a lot of flexibility, and they're going to get a chance to build on what they were last year. Teams with money that are losing pieces. Okay, Commanders, Chargers, on the lowest of keys. They have a lot of opportunity to spend, but a lot of pieces are about to walk out that door. So, yes, they should be able to get better. But what I think with both those teams, people are going to underrate how much of their spending is going to have to happen just to get back to where they were last year. And it's a little bit different than Cincinnati and Kansas City, because I don't know if Cincy and Kansas City have the space to stack up on top of replacing their guys. These teams are going to, but yeah, they just people are going to see how much they spend, and they're going to be like, oh wow, they're so much better. And it's just, there's some nuance that has to be looked at there. And then expensive teams with a decision to make: Jaguars and Saints. So those are our teams that are heavily invested into their rosters, but they had really bad seasons last year. They're not the worst teams on paper. Like, they could probably be average, but they have new coaches. So it's this weird thing of you tear down to the bottom with your new coach in their first year, where technically that coach has the most flexibility, and they have their biggest room for error in year one? Or does the new coach come in and think, you know what, I can get more out of this roster? I can get more out of this roster than the last guy. So they kind of have a decision to make. Expensive teams that will struggle to get better. Cowboys and Dolphins, both heavily invested, both have more guaranteed money on the books than all three teams from this stream. Yeah, I just think it's going to be tough to get better. Why the hell are these rosters so expensive? The Giants and the Browns. These are teams that are not good, and I don't know how they got so expensive. You got the Niners and Vikings. Last year's injuries made it hard to evaluate things. So for the Vikings, that's basically all their corner injuries and JJ McCarthy. And for the Niners, it's just all their injuries. So these teams are coming back next year with a decent amount of pieces, but it's hard to evaluate really where they're at because of the injuries. These teams are starting from the ground up. Raiders, Titans, and Jets, lots of opportunity to invest, but really not working with much as a starting point. Aggressively mid in every possible way. These are teams that I just found are in the middle of the pack in terms of investment, in the middle of the pack in terms of achievement, in the middle of the pack in terms of how much of their teams they're bringing back. They're just in the middle in every sense. And then there's going to be a stream dedicated strictly to the Eagles at some point about how the hell does this really invested, really good team stay in place? But yeah, hold on. Jared saying, can I join and tell you something? Yeah, for sure. Go ahead, bro. I'll put the link in the chat. You can swing by. I'm probably going to close this off pretty soon. Is it a belt? Hold on. Jared, is it a belt these teams? Because I want to keep these streams on topic as much as I can. I guess the Ravens could shift Rosengarten to the blind side and draft right tackle. Oh, what's good, Disco Flash? Good to see you. Haven't seen you since the Super Bowl, by the way. A good game, I guess. GG's. But we'll have more answers as it gets closer to the draft. So that's the thing about, and this is what I like so much better about how the NFL does it than the NBA. Like, I think the draft belongs after free agency. He said, "Good game, hell no." Yeah, like really, you don't even have to think about the draft. The mock drafts don't mean anything. Like the top 10 of the draft will kind of be sorted out more or less after free agency because you're gonna be able to tell who's planning to draft a quarterback versus who's not, and that really tells the story at the top of the draft. So, free agency will help us out quite a bit. What are we discussing right now? So, Disco Flash, I'm starting off a off-season preview series where we're gonna preview every team in the NFL and what their off-season outlook might be, what their goals might be heading into the off-season. And I started this series with Baltimore, Buffalo, and Detroit, which are the three contenders that I think have an opportunity to get better. So that's where we're starting out. Like I'm doing it stream by stream, like in categories, and the teams that fall into the categories. I actually did a community post about it, by the way. You can check the post out on the channel, kind of explaining the concept. But yeah, you guys see what you're doing. I saw Chiefs offseason gonna be interesting. I don't know what changes we're making though. I mean, you guys are definitely going offensive line first and foremost, but you guys are gonna have quite a bit of turnover. If not this offseason, next offseason. So we're gonna see. What's going on, Jay Brown? What did you want to talk about?
Congrats on the Super Bowl first.
Oh, thank you, bro. Appreciate it.
The plus Chiefs do need an O-line though, because that O-line did not do very well against the Eagles' defensive line.
Who are we talking about? The Chiefs?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
The Chiefs O-line struggled in the Super Bowl.
For sure. That's going to be a big part of their offseason, right? And like the thing is, because the Eagles just won the Super Bowl, like basically they just made trench play sexy, right? Like they just made having a good offensive line and a good defensive line. They made that shit like not trendy, so to speak, because that's common knowledge, but like copycat league. When one team has something work really well for them, other teams follow suit. So, Yeah, I think like it's kind of a tough spot to need offensive linemen. With defensive linemen, there's a shit ton of them in the draft. With offensive linemen, I think the numbers are about to be ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous in free agency. So that's tough. That's the worst O line performance in the Super Bowl since the Chiefs played the Bucks. No, it was. Bro,
That game looked like the Chiefs versus Bucks, though.
so many absurd stats came from that Super Bowl. The Eagles having a 52% pressure rate with 0 blitzes is crazy.
Cooper
Absolutely.
DeJean got a touchdown on his birthday.
Absolutely worse. One bad thing about it makes us we lost bad and we know we need changing. Hold on. Win Super Bowl. Okay. I mean, I hear. Yo, hold on, Peter. Okay, so at halftime, the Eagles had 24 points and the Chiefs had 23 yards. When the Chiefs got past midfield, it was 34-0. So Peter's talking about 17 minutes left in the game. Yes. And it was 34-0 when they first got past midfield. It was 40-6. It was
40-6 in the fourth.
with 2:50 to go. Right? Like you see 40-22. If you didn't watch the game, you don't know. Bro, it was so uncomfortable how good that game was going. Like I could not believe it.
I was wearing my Chiefs jersey to give them the curse.
Bro, I could not believe it. I was like, there's no way a dynasty team headed for a three-peat or like trying to get a three-peat is
Just
getting this bad. I just could not believe it. I got the feeling that we were the better team. I got the feeling that if we didn't do anything stupid, we were probably going to win. I could not believe it played out like that.
But I can say one thing the Chiefs did. They slowed down Barkley.
And that's why they lost. But like, here's the thing. That's part of the tricky thing about playing the Eagles was teams were kind of skeptical of selling out to stop Barkley like that for that reason, because you saw Hurts have one of his better games this year.
In the Super Bowl.
He was throwing against heavy boxes all day. One-on-one coverage on the outside, no safety help against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And the thing, too, about Philadelphia that I really appreciated was that even though the running game wasn't working, they stuck with it all game. So you're not going to win putting 8 in the box in the NFL. Now, this is true. So this is the thing, right? The Eagles ran Saquon 25 times for 57 yards. So you might say, oh, what a shitty day. And it's like, no, if we stopped handing it to Saquon because it wasn't working, that would have been. If he had 12 carries for 25 yards, that's a shitty day. The fact that we had the wherewithal to just keep toting the rock, even though it wasn't working, that's what made everything click, because it kept the Chiefs having to respect the run all game. It let the Eagles get a feel for how they were like planning for the run, and we got a chance to hit passing plays off of it all game. So
especially that long pass to Devontae Smith for that touchdown.
Bro, that dagger was sensational.
And he's a Heisman Trophy winner.
What's
national
that?
championship. He's a Heisman Trophy, a national championship winner, now a Super Bowl winner.
Yeah, I know. It's a weird triple crown. I think there's like 4 or 5 other players that have done
it.
There's
5 different players that have done it.
When I think about how they responded to, or like how they responded after the first half, right? Second half, first 2 drives, you have a 7-minute drive and then a touchdown on the first play. Like those 2 drives were so perfect because like the first 7-minute drive, even though it was only for a field goal, it successfully showed everybody that like we're not going to crumble in the moment. We're going to execute our offense. Like I would almost argue that like if they got a touchdown in one play on that drive, that wouldn't have been as valuable as basically like coming out of halftime. It's 24-0. Everybody's talking about 28-3. And the way you set a tone is, bro, 7-minute drive, put the knife in the ball. We're killing this clock. It was amazing.
Nick Sirianni did a good job in that Super Bowl.
Yo, so this is the funny thing about that game was like, it was so anticlimactic because the game was the exact same the whole time. There was no changes. There was no ebbs and flows, no peaks and valleys.
It was only one side of the whole game.
So, but even just in how the game went, like there was no random wobble from the Eagles. It was just like the way the game started. It just stayed the same the entire game,
which was cool,
bro. Like No, it felt crazy. Like I don't know if you guys watch Game of Thrones. Like I did. One of the guys I was watching the Super Bowl with was talking about how like, yo, this is how it feels like when Joffrey dies. It's like, bro, with this thing that you just hate so much that you just wanted to watch die so badly, they finally die, and it's kind of just like, oh, like what do we do now? Like I think everybody, um, the vibes watching that game, like the people who even wanted the Chiefs to lose, they felt it. I want to say probably second quarter to like halfway through the third, and then once it became abundantly clear that no comeback was happening, it was just like, yo, what do we do for a quarter and a half now? Like Kendrick performed, right? It's
That
34
was
nothing.
sick. That
Like
was sick.
what do we do now?
Kendrick Lamar roasted Drake on that halftime show too.
Even when Nasty pick, they got the ball back straight away. I felt that shit. So yeah, bro. So this is the thing. Like, if you talk about when I felt very good about the game, it was early, but there's just so much like PTSD with the Chiefs. But I was watching the game and I was just like, yo, we're so perfectly built to be in this kind of a game. Like, oh, we just conveniently have a historically good running game, to ice this game out. And if you want to do what you have to do to stop the historically good rushing attack, we just happen to have like two Pro Bowl caliber receivers. Like, I was like, fuck, man, they really handed us a 10-0 lead. They handed this roster a 10-0 lead. I couldn't believe it.
AJ Brown, Devontae Smith.
Okay, so the pick six was like, okay, I really feel like we're definitely going to win this game. But it was about feel. It was the Zach Bond pick before the 2-minute warning where I was like, oh, shit, bro, like this is done. They actually can't do shit. Because it's the way their left tackle got pushed back into Mahomes when he threw that pick. I was like, yo, they can't stop anything at all.
No, but next year it's going to be in San Francisco, and it has dark, like light blue and white. So I think it's the Lions and the Bills.
Oh, you're talking about the Super Bowl logo colors and how it
matches through all those years.
Underrated aspect of the game is Mahomes' mobility not being what it was 7 years ago. Can't explain it, but he doesn't look as elusive as when he first started. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, he looked like he was struggling.
No, he's right. Like, it really doesn't look the same. I was watching some highlights of their 24-0 comeback against Houston, and the mobility was different.
Okay, don't talk about that.
Oh, my bad. Accidental stray.
I don't want to remember that game.
So, how old is Patrick Mahomes?
28, 29.
See, like, I mean, I guess you may not notice the physical decline of quarterbacks traditionally because that's a position that, tended to be just full of a bunch of pocket passers, right? But I think now that we have so many mobile quarterbacks, maybe we're going to start to get more and more familiar with the fact that there is a physical decline that'll happen to these mobile quarterbacks at some point where, it's not going to be like Pat Mahomes has to all of a sudden be Peyton Manning out of nowhere, but it's not going to be the same as peak early 20s Patrick Mahomes.
Look at Michael Vick. He had trouble after a couple of years.
Because, it is fair because what Peter's saying, because I remember against Tampa Bay, he was running for his life, but he was kind of still doing some spectacular shit to run for his life while he was running for his life. This time, there wasn't even any spectacular shit. Like, I think the Bucs game was 31-9.
31-9, Tampa Bay.
He still was doing some spectacular shit in the 9, right? I didn't even see that this game.
No, the Eagles locked him down.
Oh, another thing I want to talk about is the fact that, like, bro, every time Hurts sees Spagnuolo, he gives him buckets. Every time he sees Spagnuolo, bro, I just need them to know, like, just the most random agenda I have is the fact that Spagnuolo used to give Brady fits. And Hurts just looks at that guy like food every season.
And by the way, congrats to Canada beating my USA in the Four Nations Championship game.
Bro, that's the funniest thing to enter the sports realm. Just randomly. Fucking tariffs and the NHL scrapping their All-Star game for this random hockey tournament that they invented out of nowhere.
And I was there too, and I witnessed your team beat my team.
That's tough, man.
Thanks to Connor McDavid,
That's
one of the
tough.
best players in NHL.
Can't believe Trump's America lost like that.
Hey, but it's okay. I don't mind. Canada deserves it.
Nah,
We
bro,
beat them.
it's just so funny how here's the thing, right? There's nothing like nationalism. Like when it comes
I
to
know,
sports,
right?
I've long talked about it. Like, bro, there's something special about international football for a reason because there's just nothing like nationalism. Now, so this is the thing, right? Bring on that trade war, 50% tariffs. This is real shit. Like, I was thinking about it, like, why did this not happen before? Like, every time a team from America had to come play the Raptors in a playoff game, they should have been in customs for like 12 hours. Why was that not
like,
happening before?
like the Raptors and Warriors finals.
Bro, Steph Curry should have been in an interrogation room for 6 hours. Bro,
Hey,
we've
but you
been
guys still beat them
doing
though.
this shit.
But I still
Yeah,
can't
no.
believe Luka still got traded to the Lakers though.
Nah, for sure. But like,
And he's dealing with the calf injury now.
yeah. um, hold on. Turn the game
Because the
on.
Warriors. That's why.
Wait, hold on. When you say we lost in OT again, we're talking about Phoenix? Or are we still talking USA? What the hell? I didn't even watch the hockey. No way Peter tapped into the hockey.
No, I was there, but I witnessed your team beat mine, so I was like pissed off.
So hold on. Oh yeah, you live in. Man says I don't recognize the Suns currently. Shit, bro, they actually had Peter tapping in to watch hockey. That's crazy.
Yeah, I live in Maine, but I drove down to Maine to Massachusetts
How
to
far
watch
is it drive from Maine to Boston?
2.5 hours.
Damn, this guy drove
Plus-
5 hours round trip.
2.5 plus traffic. Boston traffic sucks. So yeah.
Damn.
But oh well, I got Austin Matthews and Matthew the truck to sign my jersey. So
Oh, that's lit. At least you left with something. Yo, Peter. So, I mean, Adam Silver is gonna patriarch. We lost, so we had 0 people. Hey, yeah, that's gonna be a sport where it takes some time for diversity to hit, bro. It's gonna take a whole lot of like the middle class, the upper middle class needs to get very diverse. But yo, Adam Silver has to incorporate nationalism into our All-Star Weekend. That's what we learned from this.
Dude, everybody turned into that. Like one streamer had over one game, the USA Canada game Saturday, had over 2 million views in it.
Damn,
more than the All-Star game of the NBA.
We will get dog walked by France. Damn, man said France. I was thinking USA versus the world.
Ooh, that one? Like what they did for like the young stars before, like USA versus the world.
You let Europe make a team and it's so fucking over. Damn. Because like, if you're gonna make an all-star event out of it, right? At least basketball. Like I think the NHL took 8 days to do this. Basketball would even need less because like you can play the game. I mean, then again, if they were asking guys to play back-to-backs over the All-Star weekend, that definitely wouldn't be something that they're into.
They did do that for the 4 nations. They gave them breaks.
Damn.
How is Brandon Ingram looking for your Raptors?
He's injured, bro.
He's still injured?
Oh, we traded for him. That was low-key a tanking move because you trade 2 bench players for a guy who's probably not going to play. Low-key, that trade was for the tank. Because, like, the issue is, bro, we started winning too many games. Like, we started getting healthy. We started getting wins. That shit was ass.
Then you guys traded for injured Brandon Ingram.
Yes, bro. He's hurt as fuck. It's great.
Then Anthony Davis is out for the rest of the year.
Jokic versus Embiid with nationalism on the line. Nah, that's true, man. Jokic, like his love of his country is one thing, but you add love of his country, like on top of that, you add some of the hatred for Embiid. Oh my god.
Well, where is Embiid from, anyways?
Cameroon/France/America. No, I'm kidding. He's from Cameroon. He was initially supposed to play for France, but then he chose to play for the U.S.
And then now look at him. And he won a U.S. gold medal. Now look at him. He missed several games this year. But my Celtics walked him for like 20 plus points in the game right after the All-Star break.
That's our current center. But for how long, my guy? For how long? He has, I mean, like, if USA takes him to a tournament, I would say you can bank on getting like 30 minutes before something goes wrong.
Oh, Embiid?
Joel Embiid, yes.
Yeah. I don't know what the Sixers are going to do in the offseason.
Nothing, bro. You just have to eat those contracts. There's nothing to do.
Yeah. I don't know what my Texans need. I know my Texans need an O-line, a wide receiver.
Yo, here's the thing. Is Stephon Diggs and Cardi B about to be like
a thing?
No, but like I'm trying to think, like, if they try to push the Swift Kelsey stimulus package onto that celebrity couple, like what's the furthest it could go?
I don't know.
Because I know like Cardi B is a huge superstar. Obviously, Taylor Swift is a different level. But if we're talking about finding a celebrity woman to put with an NFL player, like
Stephon Diggs and Cardi B, that's what I only can think of.
How many names are above Cardi B from that standpoint? Now, Peter says, "How are you a Texans fan from Maine? Explain this." Floor is yours.
I'm originally from Texas, but I moved to Maine when I was like right after middle school. I moved to Maine.
Okay, so you kept it with you. Fair enough.
So I didn't want to be a Cowboys fan because I hated the Cowboys.
Hell yeah.
So I went as a Texans because I liked Andre Johnson, Adrian Foster, Matt Schaub, J.J. Watt, and then for my baseball team, it was the Texas Rangers. That I hate the Astros.
Damn, this guy said.
Then for hockey, I'm a Bruins fan. And football for football, it's Texans and.
We beat TJ Yates in the playoffs. Crashing on the Texans is hilarious because like they have such a funny place in like football history. So you got like the most sacked quarterback ever in David Carr. You have honorary
wide receiver
Saturday wild card team, right?
Then we had the best wide receiver on Andre Johnson.
Never get into the AFC Championship game. You're always gonna get the random. What network do they put it on? They may as well put it on Tubi, but like that first wild card game on Saturday.
Oh, I think that was Nickelodeon.
Oh no, no.
No, they put it on Nickelodeon.
This is true. Hey, Peter, what were we talking about this one time? We were talking about playoff win droughts, and just generally the teams that are like in hell as of the last 10, 15 years that you wouldn't think about.
It's my Texans.
Yo, Pittsburgh quietly in a big drought. And yeah, Texans quietly a respectable franchise because while we joke about them getting that Saturday playoff game, they get it pretty often because they do get into the playoffs. Now, a big part of the reason there is because you can usually never trust the Titans and Jaguars, and the Colts just decided to implode at some point. But
like Anthony Richardson tapping on his helmet.
Oh, by the way, King, now that you're in here, I had this put together, a chart for how invested every team is in terms of guaranteed money. Now, I'll explain this later. But guaranteed money is kind of the only thing that matters. If you look at the Steelers actually have next to they have the lowest number of guaranteed dollars on their salary for their team, on their cap sheet for their team. They are the most, underinvested team in the NFL. You wouldn't think about it, but the Steelers are. Now, I was doing some digging into this. I think the main reason is probably because the owners are cheap as fuck. But like the Steelers have no excuse. And I'm going to talk about this when we get to that stream. Guys, there's a community post on the channel breaking down how I grouped the different teams in the league for the preview streams. We're going to have to crash it on Pittsburgh for why are you this much cheaper than how are you so far off? Bro, everybody else is bunched together. How are the Steelers this low on this list? But bro, they have no excuse. They should be spending hella money. There's a lot of pressure. Tomlin's under a lot of pressure. The GM's under a lot of pressure. They have so much money to spend. They have no excuse. Whenever you do that, put me on. Okay, bro, we can coordinate that. So like, yeah, we'll definitely coordinate that. I'm not doing that stream next. Like probably like it's not going to be the next couple ones. It'll probably be sometime during the week this week. So I'll reach out at some point. But yeah, bro. We're gonna wrap it up here. I'm gonna try to keep these streams under an hour. I would hop in, but my girls asleep. All good, bro. All good. I'm trying to try to keep these streams under an hour. See if there's any playback potential for people after the fact. I cannot be talking ball like this. Fair enough, bro. Fair enough. But yeah, I'll catch you guys probably tomorrow. But like I said, check the community post on the channel. I think I'm gonna do the good teams that can. Oh, I have it right here. Why am I talking about it like it's not here? So we did where is it? Contenders that can build on this stream. The next one I do tomorrow is probably gonna be good teams that can build. So that's Broncos, Packers, Texans, Bucks. And then I'm thinking after that I'll do bad teams that can build. And then from there, I don't think there's necessarily like a chronological order, but we'll just jump around. That being said, like check out the community post if there's any streams you guys are necessarily honestly, you streamed all year and the Eagles won, just retire. It'll never be more fun than this. This is true, bro. This is true. So I was debating so much, like I've been going to a Super Bowl party for like 8 years in a row now, the same one. And I had this like conflict of like, do I want to go or do I want to break the tradition, stream the Super Bowl? But then the upside is like, yo, I get to have that live stream of me reacting to a Super Bowl forever. That'd be cool as fuck. I decided to pick the social life over that. But yeah, man, it's crazy. This is real. It'll never stream. This is the thing. Obviously, the gamble was if it's bad, it's horrible. If it's good, it's amazing. I definitely like pussied out and I said, yo, I am simply just gonna go have fun with my friends. But no, this is a real thought. This is a real thought, bro. I have a neutral NFL channel that the logo is completely the two different greens that the Eagles wear. Because still a huge Eagles fan and they won the Super Bowl. I promised Ravens Super Bowl and I'm watching by myself. Yeah, man. I hear it. Stressful activities for sure. But yeah, we're gonna wrap it up, people. Enjoy your Friday nights. Shout out to everybody tapped in. Make sure you guys hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Check out the community post. Throw it in the comments if there's any streams you're looking forward to. I'm looking forward to Browns Giants low key. The title of the stream is why the hell are these rosters so expensive? That's gonna be a lot of fun. But yeah, like I said, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I'll be back tomorrow. You guys damn, man said Mark Andrews dropping it. Didn't get off the couch for 8 hours. Bro, I hear it. Brown stream will be cinema for sure. But yeah, I'm out, people. You guys have fun. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Take care.